Well, hey, everybody, we are going to finish the purpose-driven life with this session. We're going to take a look at days 39 and 40. And there's a bonus. If you listen to the audible version, as I have been doing, Rick went back and added Rick Warren. He and I are good friends. Rick Warren, just kidding, added 41, day 41 and day 42.
Yeah.
Which I will comment on.
Not in the original book, because I have the original book.
So if you listen to the audible version, bonus more material. But I'll summarize that here today. So with that said, Nathan, why don't you start and tell us, as I remove text message dropping down on my screen, tell us what you thought of what stood out to you from days 39 and day 40.
Okay, so 39, he's basically saying balance your life. I personally like the word tension rather than balance. I guess it's just the imagery. Balance to me is you're on like a little teeter-totter and you walk from one side to the other. And I like tension. The imagery is more like a rope, just pulling, just because I just constantly feel, it's intentionality and awareness is more about holding on to something and keeping it up. But he is for a lifestyle that is aware, that is healthy as well, which is why he's talking about balance. He's talking about giving yourself check-ins, keeping it kind of, I would say, even he may not say it outright, but I would say simplicity as well. When he's basically listing a few things, it starts with love God with all your heart, love your neighbor, go make disciples, baptize, teach. So that's kind of what he is looking at when he's wrapping up, at least in the book. But it is day 40 that I mean, in the original book, I did think he ended this well, which was talking about living with purpose is the only way to really live. Everything else is just existing. I mean, so many times I do think people are in reaction mode, survival mode, and it's not thriving. It's not fully healthy, and it doesn't fully embody the kind of life that we see Jesus have. He goes into, I know that maybe it was in the 90s or maybe the first a decade ago, but having a life purpose statement or a personal mission statement is how some people used to put it, can be extremely important and can really provide a lot of foundation to kind of remember, and we, as we so often forget our mission, our purpose, we so often forget our passion, we so often forget the heart behind things, and what clearly defines us. That he talks about our shape, remembering who we are, remembering what God's purpose is for us. So I thought it was a great way, first edition, to end. But
yes,
that's my take on day 39 and 40. How about you?
Yeah, the verse that he said was so meaningful to him that he, at least in the first rendition of the book, that he decided to end the book on is from Acts 13:36. And how many words are there? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 7. He said these 7 words, I think he said, changed his life, changed his perspective. It was a big change for him. But the 7 words are, David, this is in the NASB version, by the way, New American Standard. David served God's purpose in his generation. And that was so meaningful to him because it reminded him and us that David, number one, didn't serve God's purpose in our generation, though obviously David has an influence in our generation because we read the Psalms, for example, but David served God's purpose in his generation, and we need to serve our purpose in our generation. And it was such a good reminder that you can't fulfill God's purpose for me. I can't fulfill God's purpose for you. And so, which is easy to do when we're looking at somebody else's skill set and their strengths and comparing them to ourselves, which of course he not only warns against, but he says it's futile. It'll take your energy away. It'll keep you from fulfilling your own purpose. And he also quoted similarly to David, he quoted to Paul, who said, I run straight to or for the goal. And that's how this book ends. Well, almost ends by encouraging us, identify your purpose and run straight for that goal. But then for those listening through Audible or however you're listening to Purpose Driven Life, he adds day 41, which caught me off guard because I read the book years ago and I had 40 days stuck in my head. And then when he went into day 41, I thought, what? Did I miss something? Have I led these fine folks astray? But
threw me off.
Day 41, avoid the envy trap, which is what I was just saying. He felt it so important that he wanted to come back. And he says, God never creates clones. And while we're naturally fascinated by other people, we have to be and we need to consider other people and be aware of other people, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. All that is true. But the moment I allow envy to take over, it will detour my life. And that's really powerful. He says it denies my uniqueness. It divides my attention. It misuses my time and energy. It leads me to other sins. So really, really strong message by him on day 41. And then he actually does wrap it up on day, those 2 days are longer too, I think, than the normal days. Because I have a couple of pages of notes for these on each of these.
Wow.
Yeah, he went on and on. So day 42, as a grateful believer who can struggle with people, pleasing people more than God, it really spoke to me. He calls this the people pleaser trap. So you have the envy trap, but the other side of that coin is people pleasing. And this really was, I keep saying he's so clever in how he words things. He said, envy says, I must be like you to be happy. People pleasing says, I must be liked by you to be happy. And that I thought was, as somebody who struggles with this, I thought that was right on point. I must be like you to be happy is envy. I must be liked by you.
Yeah.
To be happy is people pleasing. And so
yeah,
he has a lot to say here about how detrimental. I mean, in fact, as I listened to it again, I thought, man, if nobody listens to this very last chapter, which is not even in the original book, and you didn't even hear until this moment, you might say it's because I'm an only child, but actually
that
my
one was
mother
for
was
you,
married,
huh?
So I have siblings after 15 and older. But anyway, it really was. It was so on point with things that I struggle with. He says things like, people pleasing will cause me to miss God's will for my life, prevents my faith from growing, prevents me to other sins, causes me to wear masks and be hypocritical. It silences my message.
Yeah.
And then he ends by saying, how do you break out of it? Again, strong language.
Yeah.
Rick Warren lays it down in this book. He says, how do you get out of it? He says, repent. That's how you get out of it. Confess it or repent. So I could go
Okay.
on and on because I've got another page, a little bit more of notes. So, but I won't. I'll let you either pick up the book or listen to it. Great. I think this is a great book in summary. Definitely worth your time. If you up and read it, please send us an email. You can email us at care@visitccc.com.
Yeah.
And what we'd love to see your comments, questions, thoughts, suggestions for another book. That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the book from you, Nathan?
No, I mean, this is for you guys. Especially, I know that people don't often have time to read as many books as they want. And it's all for the sake of recovery. It's all for the sake of just connecting to this kind of recovery community, especially to continue to just be here for you when we don't see you in person at our Celebrate Recovery meetings on Mondays at 7. So we hope that this does help you guys. And we look forward to getting into the next book.
Yes, we do. What'd you say?
Or subject, we'll see.
Or subject. Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, we're going to bring this one to a close. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.